phones around us. We've got some people that live in our area that we get a little worried about, so we want to make sure everything's double locked, triple locked, feel comfortable. But the reality is, some of the things that can really rob our kids' hearts and souls is left unlocked. The things that can take their ideas, take their ambition, take their purity, their innocence, those things you can't just simply turn a deadbolt, push a button, and walk away and sleep peacefully. And that's the world that we live in. Part of what I want to just kind of ask you guys, just from an assumption of what we're doing today, and you've got sheets in front of you. Colleen handed out if you need pens. Colleen can give you pens, handouts for today. If you don't want to fill this stuff out, please don't bother. For the slides today, just to let you know really quickly, we'll hand out a form, or on the very back of your thing there's a survey. If you complete that survey, we'll send you a web page with all the slides from today. So don't go frantic taking notes, because we can give you all that stuff. But one of the things I just want to assume is that we're on the grid. You know, what we're talking about, there's some people that talk about going to the northern side of the U.S., going into, Washington State, clear up high, off the grid. We're going to be in this little cabin, our kids are going to be protected, it's going to be great. We're not those people, okay? So just for our sake, I am kind of arguing against it. I don't think it's that effective of a way. We've helped tons of kids at Project Patch, in which the families thought if they created this right haven for their kids, they're going to turn out great, but the reality is those kids ended up having a ton of problems because the parents isolated them. And so we're on the grid. The other thing is that we're not raising kids in a bubble. We're raising kids in a world that's connected. They're going to have access to some sort of device, some sort of internet device. It might not even be in your home, but they might have it at a friend's house. They might have it at school. Our kids aren't in a bubble. And that's kind of a scary thing to realize, is that our kids are connected and things are getting even more and more and more connected. Have you noticed that if you go to any of the home appliance stores that there's refrigerators with internet enabled now? Can you imagine? Does anyone have one? I better ask if I can find one. But I mean, you have an internet-enabled fridge, which is really kind of interesting. You could, maybe it's for letting, someone know that you need more milk, but it seems like, why do I need to use the fridge as an internet? If you look at phones and all these devices that we have, phones are now online. Music players are online, games are online, our TVs are online, our DVD players are online. All these things are interconnected nowadays. They call them smart devices. It's hard to find a dumb phone. Have you tried to buy one recently? Someone has one, you have one. They're really hard to find. They go with the premium. My father-in-law, the founder of Patch, Tom Sanford, just needed a phone. Just a phone. And the more complicated, the harder it is. He just wants to be able to dial. He doesn't want to text, nothing else. And it was nearly impossible to find a Verizon phone that just is a phone. Because everything's everything nowadays. This is something that you can do now or later, just from an interest sake. Look down that list on your sheet. There's probably other things, but just kind of mark, what devices do you have? You'd be surprised sometimes if you did an inventory to discover how many devices you have in your home. Whether it's tablets, e-readers, internet-enabled phones, all these different things. You'd be kind of, at least for me, I've always been surprised when I do an inventory, do a physical inventory. So do know that there's a ton of internet-enabled devices, and the reality for our kids, as they grow up, stuff's going to become even more integrated, rather than less. And so it's going to be hard to find a device that's not connected to tons of different things, to be hyper-connected that way. So, real quick, I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about pornography risk, because I think most of us just kind of get it. How many of you have been on the computer and suddenly something popped up and you're saying, whoa, what was that? We kind of get that pornography is coming at us, right? But just kind of some stats. These come from Josh McDowell. As a parent, if you ever want to stay up at night, go to Josh McDowell's website, josh.org. There's tons of research that he and his organization have done that just kind of gives you the threats of pornography. If you complete that survey, you'll actually get a link. I've got about a 2-page synopsis of some of the internet facts from Josh McDowell and some of the gaming facts, and so you can download that fact sheet. It's scary stuff. 90% of 8 to 16-year-olds have viewed pornography online. 90%. That doesn't mean that 90% of our kids are going looking for pornography. It just means that 90% have viewed pornography. 20 to 30% of adult industry traffic is children. When you look at the statistics, adult industry traffic dominates the internet. You can take the biggest companies that you know about, Amazon, and all the YouTubes and all those kind of what you consider fairly normal online activity websites, and those things pale in comparison to adult industry traffic. And so when you look at 20 to 30%, that is a ton of traffic that's being generated by kids online looking at pornography. 80% of children using email receive inappropriate messages. A lot of kids aren't even using email nowadays, but email is a good illustration to say that they're receiving these messages. These things are coming into them. I want to kind of share with you that don't assume that your kids are purposely finding this stuff. Don't assume that. If you take a look at the most popular children's cartoon characters, nearly all of them have, if you type in the name wrong, it's going to take you to a pornography site. Why would someone be wanting to take a kid to a pornography site rather than their cartoon site? Get them hooked. So if you look at this thing, this is a representation of a light. If you can get a kid at a young age really enticed into pornography, way down here, you've got a lifetime customer, don't you? And so, really the idea behind a lot of this stuff is that if you can get them in their childhood, you've got them for years and years and years to come. And so that's why they're attacking kids. That's why kids are accidentally typing in stuff. That's why a lot of this stuff is hidden away in ways that would be accessible to kids, but you as an adult might not even think about it. Or you might be thinking about certain keywords that kids are typing in and be able to go into your filter and say, oh, all these words are off. The reality is that misspelling of some things that are pretty innocent can take them into some really crazy places. 70% of teens online have accidentally come across pornography on the web, so that's really speaking to what I talked about earlier. There was even with all the filter programs, talking to, I think it was a school teacher that told me this, in which one of the students in class was doing a paper on spiders. And their school had fanciest of filtering programs. And they were looking for images of spiders to be able to put onto the report. And lo and behold, there's a spider that one of the kids is looking at, and it's on a woman's vagina. You know, that sort of thing is just crazy, is that it comes out of kids.